Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to create some cards with the Hero Arts, my monthly hero kit for January 2022. This month's kit it's actually really neat. I was super excited about it. We're going to take a look at everything that's in the kit, and then we're going to jump in and create a couple of cards. I thought that the sheet that the kit comes with is so pretty. I love the keys, and then I also love the little locks. But this is your 6x8 stamp set. It is a layering stamp set, and it creates the most beautiful tree branch ever. There is the leaves, there's the tree branch, then there's also some greenery that goes around the swing that's in the set. So pretty. And there's only 2 layers to each one of these, so it's very, very easy to line up. Now we're going to take a look at the dies. There's coordinating dies that will cut out your tree branch along with the greenery that goes around the swing, and then there's also of course the swing. But there's a fancy key die, and that piece goes around your swing, and then your key is actually in your tree branch. This is your key, has a little heart at the very top, very pretty, and then you have your tree branch, and then you have your swing that's in this keyhole cover plate. Now the background cover plate there's 2 pieces to it. There is a rectangle die that will layer, so you can create an A2 panel, which means 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's your swing there. But usually my panels are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so I don't have to use that rectangle. But this is your cover plate die. It is so pretty. There's some greenery on there with some flowers and hearts, and I just love the big keyhole. You can actually cut out the center keyhole if you wanted to with your die cutting tool. You can nip that out, but I'm going to leave that in there because I like it perfectly positioned. You get 4 ink cubes, and they are 3 of them are reactive, which means you can actually watercolor with them. This is Key Lime Fizz, and I'm using my water brush just to show you that you could spread the color out. But next is Taffy. Taffy is really pretty pink, and it is a reactive ink too, so you can use this for watercoloring too if you wanted to. Really pretty colors. Next ink is not a reactive, it's just a dye-based ink, and it's Capucho. It's a very pretty brown and very juicy. You can see here. That one doesn't react with water, it's a dye-based ink. But your last one here is Green Apple, and that is a reactive ink, so you can use that with your water brush if you wanted to. So those are your 4 ink cubes, very pretty, and we'll be using those in our project today. Last but not least, you get a beautiful package of red iridescent gems. I wanted to share with you because the reverse side is showing red, but when they're face up, they have that iridescent tint to them, and it's so pretty. I was hoping you could see it with some white cardstock here, but that iridescent tint has a goldish hue to it. Very pretty, and we'll be using those to create our very first card. So I'm going to just put these in a little triangle dish, and we're going to jump in with our first project. Again, my panel here measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, so I'm not going to use the rectangle die that came with this cover plate, but I'm just going to center it, tape it down, and I'll run this through my die cutting machine. You can see here, since I didn't trim out that keyhole, that was perfectly positioned, and it creates a window in your card. And then the cover plate itself has etched detail, which is so pretty. And I thought you could ink blend with it. You could die cut this out with colored cardstock, but I thought we would just color in. The background is very easy with the greenery, and then the hearts. Basically the hearts, there's 3 hearts on top, 3 hearts on the bottom. I'm going to speed up the video really fast, but I'm just going to use my Copic markers to color in the hearts here. I'm just going to do a couple hearts and then the greenery to show you the colors that I used. And then I'll basically fill in the entire background. For the greenery, I'm using 2 shades of green. I have G12 and then G14, and then I did use some rosy pinks, kind of coordinating with the inks. And hindsight, you could probably use your ink if you wanted to die cut this out with watercolor cardstock. You could use your water brush and color this in also. I think the colors will be really similar. But I went around the edge with my B60, it's a very pale blue, and then the keyhole I went around with some of my brown Copic markers. You can see the colors there, but I did list them earlier if you guys want to know the colors that I used, but I like the brown contrast. So that is our background. Now we're going to make a shaker card, so we're going to add adhesive behind our cover plate background piece, and then we're going to add a piece of acetate over the back. I'm going to bring in some foam tape, and we're going to just go around the outside edge of our keyhole here, and I'm only going to do one layer of foam adhesive, but if you really want it to shake, I suggest maybe doing 2 layers. But I wanted my my fill, well, we're going to fill it with the gems, so I wanted it not to shake too much. Now I'm using the negative keyhole piece, putting it on some white cardstock, and then we are going to go ahead and take some glue. I'm using Hero Arts Precision Glue, and we're just going to add lots of dots in that keyhole area. Since it is a large window, I didn't want all of my gems to fall to the bottom. If they fall at all. Since there's only one layer, they might not fall, but just to be on safe side, I did go ahead and adhere gems with some glue in the background, and I used the keyhole again as a guide. Once I was done filling the keyhole in with stationary gems, we're going to add some loose gems right over the top, kind of spread them out. And I didn't mind that some were upside down because you could see the red color behind it, and then you can see the right side up we're showing iridescent. So it turned out really pretty. I'm just going to funnel these back in there, and then we'll remove the release paper off of our background and then place this over our gem-filled panel. And we'll just use the keyhole as a guide, and there is our shaker. It does shake a bit, which is really good, so I'm glad I did do the stationary one. So we have some stationary, we just don't have open space basically in our shaker. I'm going to go ahead and take this panel and adhere it to an A2 size card base. Since I went around the edges, I didn't have to add too much adhesive. Now we're going to do a little bit more die cutting using the key, and I'm going to die cut out some white cardstock. And I'm also going to bring in a die set. This is the nesting tags die set from Hero Arts. I'm using the smallest tag in this set, and then also the tag piece we're going to use to cover that hole in the tag. I do want to color it in with the same markers that I use for my hearts, which is again R81, R83, and R85. I'm just going to do a little bit of blending on the very bottom since the little tag piece is not that big. I do want a little bit of a gradient, having a little bit of color showing on that tag. So we'll just line that up, and that's good to go. This piece here is fun foam, and I'm going to die cut out my key with the fun foam also. That way we have a little bit of dimension with the key. My tag's all done. I'm going to add adhesive behind the little reinforcement piece, and then we'll fold that in half. And we have a little color to our tag. For our key, we're going to flip this around. I was going to use my tape runner, and I thought I better use my glue. So we're going to go over the back of our white key, and we're going to adhere this to our fun foam. This way we can have some dimension with our key here. Now I'm going to bring in some white ribbon, and I just tied a small bow, and I'm also going to stamp my sentiment. The sentiment for this card, I chose Sending Loving Thoughts. If it's perfectly in the tag, I want to test it on some scratch cardstock here, and I'm going to use my Cup of Joe ink. Just ink up my sentiment and stamp that right on my tag, and it should fit perfectly. I love pinks and browns. I just think it's a good color combination. Okay, now we're going to flip over our tag. I'm going to add adhesive behind it. And then I'm also going to bring in some glue dots, and then we're going to pick up a couple and put it at the very top of the keyhole, and I'm just going to use my tweezers to do that. This way I can adhere my bow, and we'll tack our bow down. That's going to go in the center, and then we'll remove the release paper off of our tag. You can see the hole in the tag, but that's okay because the key is going to cover that hole. And we're going to add that just under the bow, and then we'll add our key. The key's going straight up and down. I am going to trim the tails of my bow to finish it off. But that is my keyhole shaker card for card number 1. I think it makes a great shaker, and it's not just a Valentine's Day card. I think it could be an everyday card too. Now we're going to use the layering tree branch, which is just stunning. I'm going to actually stamp it twice. I like to add adhesive behind my card panel and then adhere that to my card base. I'm going to do that with 2 different pieces of cardstock. And we're going to take the first layer, which is the most solid layer. We'll ink up that with our Key Lime Fizz. And they're pretty juicy inks, so it doesn't take much. And then once we have our Key Lime Fizz, I'm going to go ahead and stamp one more time for good measure. I'm going to go ahead and layer my second tree leaves over the Key Lime Fizz one, and then we're going to ink it up with our darker green ink, which is green apple. And when you stamp these 2 together, it is so pretty. I mean, I was like, this is a great color combination, really pretty. And you can see the tree branch there. I'm going to do it once more with my second panel, and then we're going to go ahead and add our tree branch. Again, you want to take your most solid layer for your tree branch. It's very easy to line up, guys. Add that, and since we only have 1 brown ink, I'm going to bring in another lighter brown. I believe this is pumpkin pie. At least that's what I have written on there. I'm not sure if that's the right color or not. But I'm going to ink up, you just need a lighter brown ink because Cup of Joe is pretty dark. But I'll ink up my most solid tree branch, stamp that, and then we'll take the second layer, go over that with Cup of Joe. And I love the outcome. So pretty. It's so neat how it just trails over. It really is, it does have dimension to it. I'll do the same thing with my second panel, and then we're going to stamp our swing. I used the 2 brown inks, the pumpkin pie and the Cup of Joe. Pumpkin pie went over the rope of the swing, and then the Cup of Joe went over the seat of the swing. So I stamped that, and then we're going to take the little greenery that can go around the rope of the swing, and we'll do the same thing we did with our leaves. Start off with our lightest green, which is Key Lime Fizz, and we'll stamp this. And it's nice too that they're both together. When you die cut it out, the die is 1 die, but it die cuts out 2 pieces, which is really nice. We'll take the second layer, line that up, and then we'll use our darker green apple ink and stamp right over it. And you get the same results. It really does look so pretty. So then we have our swing, and then our little vines that go around the swing, good to go. I'm going to go ahead and use the coordinating dies and die cut out both of my panels along with the swing and then the vine piece, and we'll run this through our die cutting machine. And I love the arch of that tree branch, so my idea was to do something a little bit different, and I thought we would go one right side up and then the other tree branch upside down, kind of creating almost like a wreath, if you would. Not really a wreath, just a full leafy background. I'm going to pop up both of my tree branches. This one I'm going to add foam adhesive, but I'm not going to remove the release paper just yet because I still have to add my swing under that one. And then this one's going to go right underneath it. And you can see it kind of creates like a pretty cool tree, I thought. Something just a little different. For this card, I chose the Sentiment Says I Love You. And there's a little butterfly trio in your stamp set too. I'm going to use that. I stamped the sentiment with one of my Hero Arts red inks. I'm not sure what color this is, but I did want to use a red ink for the I Love You. And then for the little butterfly trio, we're going to use that taffy ink that came with our kit this month. And I'm going to stamp that just above the I Love You. And it stamps beautifully. Just got to figure out a home for these little butterflies. And then we'll take our panel. I went ahead and put adhesive behind it, And the panel I didn't mention is slightly smaller than my card base, so it measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I do have a little bit of a border. I am going to go ahead and finish off this card with a few of our red iridescent gems, and then it's a pretty simple card, but I think it turned out really nice. Could be a masculine card too. Cards simple like this, I think, could be considered masculine. So that's card 2. We're going to move along to our final project. I'm going to use some Hero Arts dies. This set here is the wood grain frames, and I'm taking the second largest, and we're going to die cut that out with white cardstock. And then we're going to use our wood grain cover plate and die cut that with red cardstock, and then I trimmed it down so it would fit behind the frame. We're going to go ahead and add adhesive behind here. I love that wood grain look. It's has etched detail, so some of the pieces did come off when I trimmed it down, but for the most part the rest stayed intact. I have a piece of pink cardstock that we're going to mat or frame on, so just a little bit of the pink is peeking out. So I centered that on that pink cardstock. And then for our frame, I'm going to bring in some scratch paper, and I want to add a little color to it. And using those same inks that I used for my shaker card and also for the branch on our card that we just made, we're going to add some color. This is Key Lime Fizz. Actually, I really take that back. This is Cup of Joe. And Cup of Joe is nice and dark. We're just going to follow the grain of the wood, and then we'll do the same thing with our pumpkin pie, just filling in that open area. So we have a nice pretty brown frame. After we have our inks to our frame, we're going to flip over our frame and add foam tape behind it to give it a little bit of dimension. And we will remove the release paper and add that to our wood grain red panel there. And I just love the way this looks. I think in the close-ups you'll be able to see the detail in here. Now I die cut out the keys, 2 gold and 2 silver, with some silver mirror cardstock. And then I took my circle infinity dies from Hero Arts and I layered 2 together to create a ring. I thought we'd create a key ring with it. So I'm going to use my scissors and just cut a hole in it. And then I'm going to put my keys through it, but I'm going to alternate colors. So we'll add silver and then gold and silver and then gold. And then we have a nice key ring. I thought that would be something, something a little different for this card. But I think the idea was really cute. I'm going to flip this over and add some adhesive behind it so we have some dimension on our little key ring. I'm going to use some small foam squares here, and then we're going to go ahead and add this to the left of our frame. Just remove the release paper. Now I'm not worried about that cut line showing because we're going to cover that with some white ribbon. I'm going to tie a bow with some more of that white ribbon that we used for our very first card, and then that will cover it. Okay, now we're going to tie our bow. I'm going to adhere it with some more of those glue dots. And then for my sentiment, and I did keep one of the silver and one of the gold hearts that were in the center of the keys. We're going to add those too. We're going to take our frame, add it to our card base, and then for our sentiment I'm going to use that Cup of Joe ink, and I stamped the sentiment that says you hold the key to my heart on some white cardstock. We are going to take scissors and fussy cut around our sentiment, and then I'll pop that up and place that above our frame there. You can see I kind of did a little tucking with that bow. Next I'm going to add some small foam squares behind those 2 hearts. 1 silver and then 1 of the gold, and then we're going to kind of place them overlapping just below our sentiment. And then that, I'm not going to add no other bells and whistles. I think the gold and silver kind of really shine on this card. But that finishes off card number 3. So here's a look at all the 3 cards that I made today with the Hero Arts, my monthly hero kit for January 2022. I hope I give you some ideas on how to use the kit, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me. We will see you again real soon, guys. Bye-bye.